Hello, it's Angela Kirby, and it's time for me to do the Mandala Oracle. So this is where I do this weekly, choosing a mandala that comes from my book, Creating Wisdom and Magic in Life and Love. That's actually going to help us and give us some insight into the next following few days. And if you'd like to let me know at the end of the week how you found this, you might want to look back and see or take some notes. That's up to you. As to what and how it has affected you, or what you noticed that was in relation to what I have spoken about here. How relevant was it, or is it? Okay, so without further ado, this is where I am just selecting randomly. And if I choose a page that's actually got a mandala on one side and one on the other, I will choose the one that's on the left-hand side. All right, so what is it that we need to know as a collective for the next coming few days? All right, spring, which is interesting because it's not spring in the Northern Hemisphere. We're actually still in spring here in Australia, but that's interesting. Let's look at the metaphor of it. But firstly, we go into what the mantra is, which gets us into a place where we can actually take in more of what the mandala actually means. All right, you can concentrate a little bit more deeply. Well, hopefully you can. So, a circle of love, a circle of life. This mandala is now in our lives. Allow it to open our pleasure and delight through seeing and feeling. In meditation, it will guide us. Allow it to whisper its wisdom. Can we hear what the messages are? Write what we hear and feel and study it deeply and release for our path to be. All right. So, deep, mystical, and contemplative times, you may feel a sense of wearing a shield with this mandala. There are masks within you being revealed that are to be let go of. A new way of life is generously being afforded to you. This time is great indeed. For the masks you have worn in the past offered protection as a means of survival that is no longer required. You're also becoming accustomed to speaking your truth and in a way that feels maybe unfamiliar. So go gently and trust your path. And I would suggest that this is probably quite in alignment with Mercury retrograde in what it's bringing up, that's being addressed and ready to move on from. So, and while this can appear as a time of loss, the foundations are already being poured and your new existence is apparent and in joyous regard. So for this is spring, and trees firstly are to display their leaves, followed by the buds that become blossoms and the soils embrace the flowers. The ants begin to flurry around and the birds give generously their songs. So this time is in fact abundant, and what is left has left you is no longer needed. So you may have lost a job, broken something, a favourite or relationship has ended as they were meant to. For those aspects that have left, you might consider as a project or an era of time, a time in your life that is now complete. Sorry about that little break. Acknowledge where you are and notice what you do now as you look in the mirror. So this time is to start afresh. So good on you. Okay, so that's interesting. I think that's so those in the Northern Hemisphere, this is more the metaphor of what that actually alludes to. And so it's about, shape-shifting and moving on from our masks that we've been carrying on, and it's time to let them go, move on from them, and get on with who we are to be in this life authentically. Okay, so and I suggest that this is in alignment with what the Mercury retrograde has been bringing, quite intense at times, but we don't have to live in fear around that. This is more about letting what is coming up from those depths, the shadow, and moving through it. All right, so be gentle, be kind. Ciao, ciao. See you next week. Bye.